Today we're going to do something a little different. Had a member send us 3 sample blinds. Today we're going to do samples 1 through 3, and I haven't opened the box yet, so I haven't a clue what it is. I haven't opened these cards yet either. They're taped shut. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back to Brutally Honest Bourbon. Guys, I really appreciate all the support. You guys continuing to tune in. I want to thank all our patrons for everything that you do. Without you guys, this thing wouldn't be possible. If you're not part of our Patreon group, consider joining that. The link will be in the description after this video. In that, what I do is give you guys early access to footage. We're putting together like a bloopers reel that we'll share with you guys every quarter or twice a year, something like that. Anytime I get input on barrel picks coming out or like the Detling Gold that's dropping this week, I share that with the patrons first. If I get a password to go in and buy that stuff, I'm going to share that with you. Looking at doing like some distillery tours and stuff in the future, so that they'll get the first dibs at that. And then once a quarter, twice a year, something like that, I'll do a random drawing and I'll send out some samples of my choice and some merch or whatnot. So really need the support, really appreciate the support. Thank you guys for everything that you do. So Chase is one of our group members, and he hit me up the other day and he was like, man, I've got an idea, something I like to do. He said, I'd like to send you a couple blinds. Each blind will have 3 different samples and they will have themes. So I don't know the theme. It's for me to pick up on. Let's hope I can do this. But I'm thinking when he says they have a theme, maybe they're all a rye, maybe they're all a high rye bourbon, maybe they're all barrel proofs, maybe they're all bottled and bond, maybe they're all from MGP. I mean, I don't know. So we're going to open this box today and see what we've got. And like I said, I've not been into the box. It's completely sealed. So I'll bring out the old timer. It'll get more country than that, guys. I've got a really cool Kershaw knife. I can't find it. Kind of upset when I couldn't find that, but regardless, the old timer is always faithful. So see what we got here, Chase. I'm excited, man. This is really cool. All right, so we got 6 bottles in the kit. Each one is numbered. So this is number 2. This is number 2. They're darker, so I can't really even see the colors on them. We'll see that in the glass. So we know we're going to do number 2 today. I'm not going to do number 4. We're not going to do number 6. We are going to do number 1. We are going to do number 3. So I've got cards for 4, 5, and 6 that'll go with those. And that will be a separate video that we'll do. Let's get that out of our view there. All right, here's our cards. So I'm supposed to go through these, sample them, give you guys my input, as uneducated as that is, give you my thoughts on it, and then we'll be able to go through and reveal the cards and see what we've got. Makes me a little nervous right here. This one could call your card right here if you're faking it till you make it. This right here will show you. But blinds are also really fun because they give you an opportunity maybe to try some things you haven't tried, or they give you an opportunity to try some things that maybe you thought you really liked and you learn you don't, or vice versa, something maybe you've tried you didn't like because of branding, perception, or whatever it was, and you learn that you do like it. So that's usually pretty good to learn that as well. I often like to learn that I like them more than I dislike them. And you guys already know I don't dislike many. So the first sample that we'll go with is going to be number 1. And I'm not pouring the full contents of this because we'll be lit by the end of the video. We'll get enough in there to see some color on it. So that's number 1. I can already smell it. So it appears that Chase did not skimp on the whiskey. So you can see the nice amber color there. Doesn't look super oily. Not really even developing any legs yet. And I'll give that to you so you can see it. Not really even bringing on any legs yet. Let's put it on the nose and see what we think. So right off, it's a caramel bomb. Tons of caramel, hints of light fruit, like berries, maybe a touch of honey in there. Overall, it's really pleasant on the nose. I'm excited to get into it, so cheers. Okay, it's lower proof, which is good for me, first sip of the day. It would appear that it's maybe a honey finish whiskey. It's got a really nice mouthfeel, picking up some tobaccos in there, that bright sweetness like honey, maybe some butterscotch mid-palate, a little spicy, so it's going to be a rye-based whiskey, I do believe. A decent amount of rye. I wouldn't say it's probably a high rye. Brand, familiar. I'm going to retract on the finish. I don't think it's honey finish, but it does have a ton of honey coming. It's honey forward regardless, but I don't think it's finished. I do think it's a higher rye content. I think it's a familiar brand. I think it's delicious, and I think that if I don't have this one on the shelf, I may need it. That would be a good daily sipper. I mean, that's something good to go to. And we're really starting to get some legs on the glass now. So it took those a long time to develop. The light's washing it out a pretty good bit. So lower proof, higher rye, a very sweet whiskey. I'm anxious to get into these others and see what we're thinking the theme is here. Yeah, sorry I called that a finished whiskey up front. It's very honey forward. It's not finished. I do not believe that's finished. If it is, well done, because it's not over the top. All right, so next up, we're gonna do number two. Okay, so this one looks a little bit more viscous. It's a fuzz darker than that first one that we went to. Just a hair darker. It coats the glass really well. The glass is not the cleanest. It's got fingerprints all over it. It's slower to develop the legs. Let's put it on the nose, see what we think. Okay, so that one is not honey. That's more like a dark brown sugar, some oak. You can almost taste it as you nose it. It's pleasant, but it's a bit more savory. Picking up some sweetness in there, like the brown sugar, but it's not as sweet as that one. It's not very strong on the nose. You kind of have to get in there and dig for it. Maybe picking up some type of stone fruit, and our legs have started. I want to learn about that. There's got to be some correlation there, right? So legs, no legs, a lot of legs, slow to develop legs. Don't know. What does that mean? That's something I need to learn. And I spilled some on the table there. Always pour a little out for the homies. Man, I don't know. Let's put it on the palate and see what we think. There's definitely some sweetness there. There's definitely a more barrel impact on this one than the other one. I'm still thinking it may be a rye-based bourbon, but lower rye mash bill. The spiciness is not as prominent. Very good mouthfeel. Almost like molasses and oak. It's got a nice finish on it. I'm eager to see what this one is too. It's very good. Chase, you didn't do me wrong on flavors, man, but I don't know that I can give you the justice of guessing what these are. My goodness. They definitely taste familiar. I've had them before, or I've had the brand before. What could the theme be? What could the theme be? So they're not barrel proof. They're not even foolproof. They're lower in proof. Lower for me would be, 90 to 110, just under 110. You get to 110 and start bumping up, you're getting into some higher proofs. I like to be around 115 on the low end, 125 on the high end, but I mean, I drank some 141 the other night that Bourbon at Tiffany sent me. It was a broad branch, 141 proof, and 7 years old. It's delicious. I'd proofed up. I'd had a few throughout the day. So, all right, on to number three. What could the theme be? Are they bottled in bond? Maybe bottled in bond. I don't think they're finished. They're not barrel strength. They're not cask strength. They're not foolproof. They're not that high. Are they all Heaven Hill products? Let's check this one out before I get my fingerprints all over it. It's a little lighter in color, a little lighter. I'm getting fingerprints all over the glasses today. This one's a little quicker to start dropping the legs. It's not dropping as many legs as the other, but it's quicker to drop them. I'm gonna learn about that. Maybe y'all can teach me something about all that. I don't know. I know there's some correlation to it. It means something. I mean, obviously it has to do with alcohol content and that kind of thing, but I also think it has to do with the oiliness of it. And there's something that I can learn from that, maybe. Maybe that's a question for Nancy Fraley. All right, so this one is like a light brown sugar, some honey. There again, seems to be lower proof. Maybe picking up like some apricot. See what it's like. Maybe these are finished. Maybe they are. So it's definitely lower proof. It's got legs galore. They're everywhere. My fingerprints are all over that glass. It's absolutely delicious. I'm thinking it's gotta be finished, y'all. It's buttery. It's almost dessert-like. Maple. Are they all blended? I'm leaning towards that. I'm also beginning to think they're definitely higher proof than Bottle and Bond, but I wouldn't place any of them over 112, 118. 118's high, 112, 115, somewhere in there. That number 3 is my jam out of the list, the lineup here. Man, that's good. Okay, so mumble. My opinion, probably mid-tier, maybe a little higher end whiskeys. These are not bottom shelfers by any means. This is delicious whiskey. I don't think they're finished. I think I'm just picking up a lot of forward notes, you know, the honey, the maple. So I'm not going to say they're finished. I don't think they're all by the same brand. Could they all be non-distilling? I'm going to go with that. And I don't have a clue. That's a good one, Chase. You got me good, brother. You got me good. All right, so my ranking, I'd put every one of these at 4 beards, meaning I'd absolutely buy the bottle. It would depend on the backup. Like, how easily can I get it? You know, can I go out and grab this bottle anytime? If so, I'm not buying a backup. Is it a one-time release thing? Probably on all 3 of them, especially number 1 and number 3. Their noses are good. A little lighter on the nose on number 2. Their palates are delicious. They're all my jam. They all give that buttery, oily mouthfeel. Number 3 is going to be my choice out of the 3. But number 1 it's so close to it. Like, amazing nose. Absolutely delicious. Buttery. It's got a nice long finish to it. We're splitting hairs here. We really are. But it's going to be number 3 for me. Number 1 would be my second choice. I mean, they're breaking the tape almost the same time if it's a race. And this was a good one to put in the mix, Chase. I think you did a great job here with the similarities. But 1 and 3, you know, they're head and shoulders above this one. And I'm splitting hairs because that's a really good whiskey. Feel like I've had number 1. I'm confused on these. I'm going to say I haven't had these, but I don't know. Let's get into the envelope. So we'll get into number 1 first. We'll break out the handy dandy old timer that every pawpaw should have in his pocket. I'm not a pawpaw yet, but I wear the pawpaw peepers. So here we go. Oh, wow. All right. K-Luke, batch 6, 119 proof. So it got me there. It drinks smoother than that. $109 MSRP. So that's number 1. So real quick, I'm going to tell you guys a story about K-Luke. I say real quick, it's probably going to take me a minute. Bear with me. It's good. So 6 months ago, I had someone send me, 5 or 6 samples of K-Luke. Different ones, rye, bourbons, some cab finish. Didn't really care for them. I think there's something to samples. I think when we put them in these bottles and they sit, I feel like the ethanol builds up. I feel like they get a little hotter. So I feel like when you pour that sample, you need to let that bad boy open up a little longer than what I did with these even. I'm bad about that. I'm anxious. I'm eager. Like a little kid. I want to get in. Didn't really like them, but I did like the cab finish. And somebody told me, well, that one you can't get anymore. Obviously, that's the one I'd like. So me wanting to be a fan, because Jonathan and them are out of Mississippi, I want to be a fan of everybody in the South because that's where I'm at. And I want to support the lesser known brands. I say lesser known. Fred Minnick's even talking about this. Maybe not lesser known. But anyway, I reached out to Jonathan and I said, you know, is there a way for you and I to meet up? I've tried your samples, didn't like the product, but I want to like it. He's like, absolutely. So he was kind enough to meet up with me one day while I was passing through Mississippi. He brought 4 bottles. It was a bourbon, a toasted, a rye, and a cab finish. So we sat down and we're talking. He's telling me about himself. I had no clue. So Jonathan started out in the restaurant business, got into liking wine as part of being in the restaurant business, went and become a sommelier and opened his own liquor store there in Mississippi, Masano's Wine and Liquor, and started doing barrel picks. I think he told me that he had done like 400 barrel picks at that store alone. I mean, what does that say? The 400 barrel picks. I mean, that's extensive. He even got to meet all the heavy hitter distillers. One of the trips he went on, he and his dad had a bottle of turkey, wild turkey. That was an older, dusty bottle, and the cork was starting to fail on it. But they had it with them there, or maybe mentioned it. I don't remember. One or the other mentioned it, and either Jimmy or Eddie, one, was like, I saw that cork in my drawer at the house this morning. I'll run home and get you a cork. Who does that? Who walks in and talks to Jimmy or Eddie Russell and them say, hey, let me run to the house and get you a cork for that 1970-80 bottle, whatever it was, right? Nuts. He got to meet all the guys, all the main distillers at all the big brands. He's met them. He's done picks with them. So he has really, really broadened his palate and got to taste a lot of different things. And so that's why he started K-Luke. He ended up selling Masanos and starting this brand, which is a blend. So he starts going and sourcing whiskey. Jonathan, don't shoot me. I'm thinking Indiana and Kentucky, right? Am I wrong? Tell me if I'm wrong. I believe that's where he sources most of his juice. High-end stuff. He ain't playing around. Like, he come into this full-fledged. It's going to be a high-end product. Goes into partnership with Bardstown. So now he sources those barrels. He keeps a list of those barrels and all of their flavor profiles. Bardstown holds them, blends them as he sees fit. He and his wife sit at home. They sample different things. Bardstown will send things back to them, and they'll say, hey, this one's missing this or that. Barrel XYZ had that. Add such percentage of that to that. Send it back. Let us try it. And that's how they're coming up with these K-Luke blends. They went into great detail on the bottle shape, the glass type that they use, their logo. So K-Luke is for his son and daughter. So you have a feminine K for his daughter. You have a masculine L on the logo. I mean, you can see, where is it? I'm right over my head right there. You can see my rye K-Luke, but you really can't see the logo. But as far as shelf space goes with the bottle size, the way the cases are set up when you tear into the cases, the way it's displayed, they left no detail out. He had a lot of experience from the restaurant business to tasting wines, to running the liquor store and understanding shelf space and people battling for that, to starting his own brand. He didn't go into this mindlessly. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. So went and sat down with him, tried the products. Guys, I liked every one of them. But the funny story is, I don't listen. He and I are talking, and we get to the cab. He pours it. I taste it without thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, that's probably the one out of the lineup that I don't like. I pride myself in being able to say I don't like something because I like everything. And Heather says that all the time. You like is there a bourbon you don't like? I had people hit me up on YouTube. Is there anything you don't like? Yeah, there are. So I said, that one might not be for me. He laughed. He said, well, that's the cab finish that you just told me was the only one you liked out of the samples. I was like, hold on. Let me go back to that. Because I wasn't thinking cab finish. You ever grabbed a drink thinking it was one thing and it was another, and whoa, it's off-putting, right? That's what happened to me. So I go back to it. I try it. Phenomenal. I love red wine. I love Cabernets. I like Malbecs. Phenomenal. I mean, top notch, and it's his higher end bottle, and it should be. So I can't say that I disliked any of them. I did like the toasted and the bourbon and the cab more than I liked the rye, but I really like the rye as well as the one that you see on my shelf there. I just bought that at Canada's in Homa last week before. I'm texting Jonathan. I'm like, hey, bro, I'm here. This is what they have. Like, what should I do? And he's like, well, that one's won this award, and this one's won that award, and like, if you got this one, then maybe that, and ended up, it come down to two, and my buddy Brandon Green had the other bottle, so I got the rye. Brandon only had the other bottle because I had previously purchased it, thought I didn't like it from the samples, and traded it to him for a Barrel King, which is a good whiskey. They're doing good blending work over at Barrel King. Matt from ADHD Whiskey knows what he's doing. Good stuff. Shouldn't have ever let Brandon have that K-Luke. And I'll get another one. It was a batch non-bourbon. So I'll get another. But that's my story about K-Luke. And that's just how funny things are with whiskey and how your palate works day to day. Don't know what happened with those samples. Didn't like them. Couldn't be a fan of K-Luke. I was like, everybody's raving about them. I go sit down, I try it with Jonathan. Sold. Good stuff. And it's not just because I want to be a fan. Like, if I don't like it, I'm going to tell you I don't like it, guys. That's brutally honest bourbon. I know I like more than I dislike. And I probably don't go as firm on some, like the Woodford Double Oak. If you watch that video, I really like the flavors of it. The overness of the oaky, like, it was just off-putting. And after I tried it a few more times, it just dried the palate too much. It is not worth secondary prices. In my opinion, it's not worth the $199. Woodford, I think that's a $125, $150 bottle all day long. They're beautiful. They're beautiful bottles. You can see a couple of them sitting on the shelves up here. I can't even point at them. I don't know which hand's pointing where, but you got this one here and you've got the one right here. One of those is like the Sonoma, and then the other one is the 121-1. I really like that 121-1. Beautiful bottles, beautiful display. The double oak just doesn't, in my opinion, earn my respect for the price point. It's good. It's not great. I don't appreciate it drying my palate out like it does. So it's not one that I'm going to run to. Okay, so jibber jabber. Video's too long. Hopefully Brendan can cut it down. But that's my little story about K-Luke. So the next one we'll go to is number 2. And very old St. Nick Immaculata, 118 proof, $269 a bottle. All right, so you want me to be brutally honest with you? This is a good whiskey. I've been wanting to try it. It's delicious. Is it $269 delicious? Perhaps, but it's relative. For me, if I can continue getting Russell's Reserve 15s at MSRP like I've got in my first 2, that's where my 250's going, to Russell Reserve. I don't know if you see that old pepper right there. That's an 11-year MGP juice. So when MGP first bought from Seagram's, so that's maybe Seagram's juice that was still there when MGP bought it. But those 11-year peppers that you can only get secondary, they run about that price, $250. I'd probably go that over this old St. Nick, but perhaps it's worth that. It's definitely a $200 plus bottle. And number three is Found North. So this is one that I've been wanting to try. It's 124 proof, so none of these drink their proof. $179.99 a bottle. It's batch 9, and I'll give $179 for that bottle all day long. It's absolutely delicious. Thanks to Chase, I got to go out and spend money now. I mean, that thing is a butterball. Like, that's my jam. K-Luke, which I put second, it's still second for me. Close race. This one, because of the price point, it doesn't disappoint. It doesn't disappoint at all, but maybe not deserving $270. I think that's just a fuzz high. Put it down 180, 200 for sure. Jonathan's bottle, K-Luke, all day long. After talking with him and knowing exactly what he puts into those bottles, they're worth more than that. They put a lot of time and effort into that. He and his wife taste a lot of whiskey before they get it right to go to market. They don't put anything out until it's exactly what they want. So sorry for the long-windedness, a lot of stories to tell there. But number 3 wins it for me. The Found North is the one that I will be looking for. Luckily, I've got a K-Luke on the shelf, but I got to get more. I've got to get the bourbon and the toasted and that cab. And those cab bottles are a little higher. You know, they're going to be more along this line. They're fantastic. They are fantastic. So that's my 2 cents. Guys, I hope that helps you out. You know, I'm sorry that I'm longer-winded. I have had a few people comment on that. I'm trying my best to trim it down, and I'm not doing a good job. Brendan does a good job when he edits these videos and pulling those down. I just can't stop jibber-jabbering, so that's my fault. But, guys, reach out to me, brutallyhonestbourbon@gmail.com. There again, if you guys aren't part of our Patreon, look it up. It's going to be in the YouTube description here. Would love to have you over there, give you early access to some videos, give you insight, give you first-hand access to me. You can hit me up on there anytime. If you guys ever want to sit around and do a virtual tasting or anything like that, we'll do that. You know, the stuff that's releasing, like the Detling Gold that's coming out, you know, when I get that access, you guys will have that access immediately. This thing costs, it costs to do, right? So the equipment, the time, paying Brendan to do the editing, buying the bottles, the travel, a lot of money spent in 2024, and everything that the patrons do is well appreciated and much needed. So if you guys are enjoying the content, please look into that. You can reach out to me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, All Brutally Honest Bourbon. Would love to chat with you there. And until next time, y'all let the whiskey and the friendships flow. Cheers. It's good stuff.